Hi, my name is Nicole Pinto. I am the current president of Prep Club. That's the Physical Psychological Rehabilitation Education Program. I am studying digital media at the College of Central Florida. Disability, to me, that's limited, like learning or skills or distorting daily functioning activities or something that just not enables you to like function what they call normal. That's what the word disability means to me. My disabilities would include moderate depression, OCD, and I would say my fine motor skills are very poor since elementary school, so still suffering with that. And my disabilities have definitely impacted my life dramatically. My moderate depression, I'll start with that. It was triggered from my parents' divorce 10 or 11 years ago. It was a very, very, very crazy divorce, I'll tell you. I guess it was so traumatizing that all of a sudden I just got depression. I'm not totally sure when or why or how, but I'm stuck with it. It's easier to say suck it up than it is to experience it, because my brain is wired where I'm not getting a lot of dopamine or whatever what I call happy juice. I'm not getting enough happy juice to make me happy all the time. What it basically does is just to make me not want to be happy all the time, and it's not easy to just bring me back up. I just have to tell myself, okay, get the negative thoughts out of my head, think positive. I have to try to tell my brain, no, you're wrong. My brain is always my worst enemy whenever I try to just get my brain to think the way I want it to. And it's very, very difficult to try to get out of it. I almost wouldn't be here today if I didn't volunteer myself into a mental hospital, and I was there for a whole week, and it was a very scary experience, but it taught me a lesson that suicide is not the answer. I really did think suicide was the answer, but it's not. And it's a very scary feeling to just feel like I don't want to be here anymore. And I just don't want to feel like that ever again. That's my goal for the rest of my days. And growing up with my other disabilities was a little bit challenging. Like, I never felt where people have been afraid to approach me. If anything, they're just afraid of my rage, because I have a little bit of an anger temper thing. So if anything, they're afraid of that, not because of my disabilities, but if someone else was afraid of me in any way, I would want them to approach me. I'd rather them talk to me about their problems rather than just keep it silent and just not want to approach me. And if I had to give other people advice for anything about their disabilities, I would want them to try to find support in any way they can. Like Prep Club, we have a big support group. We're almost like family in that way. We talk about the challenges, find coping skills. We do anything we can to help people, and it's something that a lot of people should have. They should find communities, schools, anywhere they can where they have a group like that, where they support people, help them find ways to get over their challenges every day. It's not easy to do alone, and finding others to help you get over these problems, challenges, whatever you're going through. It's better to find other people than by yourself.
My disability and the word disability, I think, are things that kind of have a similar meaning to me, because they're a major aspect of my life. I think the word disability talks about both, and as a negative connotation, an inability. But I think it also talks about the way people are able to persevere and pass their disability, and it gives them an ability. My disability is a strength and a weakness. I kind of look at it as a blessing and a curse. For me, it's been a blessing because I've learned a great compassion. I think it's a curse because I've been able to do the things that I once enjoyed in my life. I can't go hiking, camping. That's pretty much it. If I do that, I have to have a lot of combinations to it. So it's kind of changed my life drastically. And in some areas, it's allowed me to be more humble, I guess, or allowed me to connect with people who are in situations that are worse than I am. While in other areas, it's kind of affected my quality of life. It's where I have had to learn to adapt to it. So for me, my disability is both a strength and a weakness. My disability has impacted my life in many areas. My social life, definitely when it came out of remission, I wasn't allowed to go out as much. I spent a lot of time in the hospitals trying to figure out what was going on, get a diagnosis. Friends, I was in high school when it came out of remission, so friends would invite me to go to movies or something like that. And I'd have to pass because I'd either have a doctor's appointment or I just wasn't feeling well. In the wintertime especially, it affects the cold or humidity affects my disabilities. So during those times, I'm really unable to do much. So it really affected my social life in that manner. There have been many times that I think people have been afraid to come and ask me why I use a cane, why I use a wheelchair. And I think that that has to do with the stigma in society. People, we see disabilities, but we don't know how to handle them. I think, for people with disabilities, we might not even know how to handle them ourselves. So, there've been several times I have experienced discrimination. Though I think I've experienced a lot of compassion for people just as much. There was a time that my family were at San Marcos, the fort up in St. Augustine, and a young man decided to flick I had to use a wheelchair, and a young man decided to flick his cigarette butt onto me, and I was just passing by. I was in my wheelchair, my family was pushing me. Other times, like in the same day, a gentleman offered to carry up my wheelchair. My brother-in-law carried me up the steps of the fort. So in one regard, there was the level of compassion. In another, there was discrimination. A lot of medical treatments from the age of 2. I've had to deal with my disability since I was 2. So medical treatments, doctor's appointments. I did have a time where I went into remission for a couple of years, so I got to enjoy, I guess, a little freedom from my disability for a short time. When I was younger, when they said I went into remission, I thought that meant that it was gone for good. I was about 7 or 8 when I went into remission, so for me, I didn't really understand the concept fully. Advice that I would give other students with disabilities were to be talk to your professors about what's going on. All the professors that I've had here at the College of Central Florida have helped me, with my accommodations or worked with my disability. If I've missed class or I've had doctor's appointments. So definitely self-advocate. Use the Access Services Department. Find ways, because I think a lot of people with disabilities would feel that because of stigmas that you just got to push through it. I think that is a wrong idea. I think talking with our professors and reaching out and asking for help is not bad. I think it's really important, and it would really help you get the grades that you really would get if you didn't have your disability.
Hi, my name's Ashley Pepper, and my major is AA in veterinary science. And some of the things I like to do are play tennis, play volleyball, go horseback riding, and I like to walk for fun. The word disability to me means in an ability that a person has that makes it difficult to perform like normal daily tasks. It makes it a lot more. My disability is narcolepsy. It's my life. I was diagnosed at the age of 13, and for the next 5 or 6 years, I was shuffled between doctors and medications, trying to find the right combination that worked for me. It made it very difficult to complete school. I had to be on special disability plans. I had one experience with a friend who witnessed me have a cataplexy attack, which is a side effect of narcolepsy, which is loss of muscle control. And they had to call 911 for me because I did not come out of it, and they were scared to hang out with me after that. The only discrimination I feel that I've experienced is maybe other students being jealous of extra time that I get on tests, or being allowed to fall asleep in class. But they don't really understand the circumstances. Or growing up with my disability was very difficult. I had to adapt to a lot of things. The medication that I was on made it not possible for me to do a lot of regular teenager things like partying and going out. I also, financially, it was very expensive. My mom had to get second jobs to take care of me. It also just gives me, I feel like I have like no self-motivation with it. It was just a hard time. Other students with disabilities, the best advice I would give them is to never give up on what they're trying to achieve in life, because I know I've felt like I can't go on, I've done everything I can, and I'm just not making it, and everything keeps getting worse. But there's always going to be people there that just support you and help you get through what you need to do. So don't ever give up.
The word disability means, to me, I used to think it meant different, but now I've realized that it actually just means that we're unique. In other words, everybody processes information differently, but it's not the process in which you worry so much about, it's how you obtain your answers. And my disability is actually spatial dyslexia, and it's impacted my life in many aspects. Work, social situations, interaction with other people, and on a really hard front, academics. When I was really little, and in probably 6th or 7th grade, I was in, they used to call them special ed classes, which I never really liked that classification. But they, basically it was ESE, and I've always been smart, just never realized how much I had to overcome disability. I've never really had anybody really worry so much about my disability, because as you can see, you can't see it. But it is mental, it is a struggle, and I don't really think anybody's ever been afraid of me because of it. There are times where I've been afraid of myself because of academics, or being able to do the basic stuff like car work, schoolwork. I have been discriminated against in multiple arenas, not just in academia, but in work, life, social situations, parties, just around other people who don't understand. They really don't understand what disabilities are, so they just classify it as you're retarded or you're whatever. But in reality, we're just unique, different. And I guess the advice I would give other students that have disabilities is never give up. No matter what anyone tells you, what classification they give you, or what bracket they put you in, your self-worth and your ability to excel in life all depends on how hard you are, or how willing you are to work for it, and how how determined you are to obtain what you have to do in life. And on a moral point, I would just like to say, just because you have a disability, it doesn't define who you are. It's rather your disability increases your potential to help you and other people around you to experience what you're capable of.
Hi, my name is Michelle O'Connor. I am from Jamaica. I like to say that, of course. I came to the US about 10 years ago, and I'm majoring in business management, my associate, and I'm trying to do the bachelor's here. Okay, my disability is ADHD. I discovered that in my early 30s, and ADHD has impacted me before I realized that I had it. I'm always talkative, I'm always impatient, like I need something to contain my attention, and I am not good with details. I'm not good with small stuff. So it happened that I'm better with big stuff than anything that takes little details. Discrimination, I think yes, because when you have ADHD, the way it affects you, people believe that you are careless, you don't pay attention, you leave small things that should be done, and you get negative comments. What's wrong with you? You're always leaving your keys. And sometimes that really sounds bad, because I usually get those comments even before I knew, and it you know, small details that everybody else remember, you just don't. With my research, it tells me that ADHD, most people with ADHD are unfiltered. So when there's, in most situations, I speak my mind sometimes without cutting it down. I will tell you what I feel. In my experience, people who are around me for a while know me for speaking my mind. I mean, if it's blue, it's blue. You know, on earth, people are gonna say, "Oh, the it's blue," and for that reason, I get comments that, you know, I feel that people will hesitate sometimes. You know, with the disability was hard, and, you know, realizing it at 30, it's a situation where I had to go back and connect the dots, because I grew up in a Christian family. I could not shut up, and I could not stay still in church. And people were always saying unkind things, and like, my family was very disciplined, and my older brothers and sisters very disciplined, and they were like, "Why is this child always outside of church? Because if I'm in church for a while, I'm going outside. I'm not staying in there that long. I'm finding something else to do, always." The advice I would give, as long as you realize that you have ADHD, you have to make it known to people that matter. Not everybody. If you have in a relationship, at some point you need to tell people, because the things that it does to you, somebody in a relationship needs to know. I did not deliberately leave it there. If, like at school, the reason I come to Access, I think the first semester when I came back, I failed an exam because I forgot the final date. I failed it so small that even if I'd taken that final and failed the final, I would still have passed the class. But it's small things like that that prevent me from doing things that the everyday person does. So the advice that is necessary for somebody with ADHD, tell people that matter, not everybody, because people who don't understand what's going on don't need to know. Somebody in a relationship, maybe your boss, not everybody at work, the person you report to, you can say, "Listen, I was not deliberately trying to forget that. And please remind me, because I forget. And like at school here, if you're pursuing any kind of education, people need to know. If you can remind me, please, because.
Hi, my name is Kristen. I'm majoring in office administration. I like to read, write, and I actually spend a lot of time with my dog. We sit and watch CSI. The word disability doesn't mean a negative thing to me. It just means someone has a different ability to do things. You don't have to actually, it doesn't make things harder, in my opinion. You just have to think of different ways to do things, like innovative ways. The way somebody else does something doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it that way or it's wrong. My disability is cerebral palsy. My disability has impacted my life in many ways. There was a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of surgeries, a lot of downtime more when I was younger, because that's when all the major things were going on. But once all that was finished and I was older, I got to do a lot more things. I was included in a lot more things. Growing up with my disability, I wasn't excluded in a lot. There was a lot that I could still do. There was some things, realistically, that I couldn't do, but it never outweighed the things that I could do. My parents always made a conscious effort to show me that I wasn't different and that I could do anything that I wanted to. Have I ever experienced discrimination? It's never direct. It's always indirect. Somebody will say something under their breath, thinking I'm not paying attention, or I can't hear it, or I don't have the ability to understand what they're saying. They don't think I'm aware of my surroundings. There was a time, actually recently, it was a few months ago, I was at the mall with my best friend, and she has a young baby, and she had used the restroom, and I was holding him. He was asleep in my lap. He was only about 3 months old at the time, I think. So she left to use the restroom, and as soon as my friend walks away, this lady sitting like a few feet away from us was like, I can't believe she trusted you to hold her baby. Like I didn't have the ability to do something. If I didn't have the ability to do it, I would voice that. I would never have put him in danger. So for them to just come out right and say that, like they had the right to say something, I felt was very hurtful. But that was like one of the major ones that have happened. Everything else in my life, they were like smaller and like not into my face. There was one time in high school, I was going through the hallway and I asked somebody politely to move, and they actually looked at me and was like, oh, you can speak? So that was kind of shocking too. Everybody assumes that I can't speak for myself and don't have an opinion, which is not true. So that was like some of the big stuff in my life that have happened, where people have outright said something. People haven't really been afraid to approach me at all. It's usually the opposite. People feel like they can just come up to me and make my life their business and say whatever they want. Like, I was grocery shopping one time, and I've had people come up and apologize to me for my own life because they feel bad for my situation, thinking that I can't do everyday things or that I have a good quality of life. And there are times, a lot of times, especially when he's out with me and we're together, my fiance, our situation where everybody assumes, they go, oh, is that your brother? Is that your father? Because they automatically assume that I can't have that kind of relationship, and they voice that to me, and they think it's wrong, which I don't think is very cool, because I don't stop anybody else from doing anything or making their life my business. I don't go up to them when they're buying vegetables and was like, hey, what did you eat for breakfast? Or what are you doing later? It's like, really, people? I'm a normal person. My advice I would give for people with disabilities is the same advice my mom gave to me pretty much every day growing up. Don't think you can't do something. Just because it's more difficult doesn't mean it cannot be accomplished. My mom always says she hated the word can't. Don't use the word can't, because you can do anything you want. You can be anybody you want, and don't let anybody stop you from being who you are.